Chapter 19 of Esthajnalcsillag, Morningstar. The small convoy of cars made its way slowly out of the refugee camp. There were still more and more unfortunate souls pouring in as the family of Morningstar left. Men, women, children, young and old, were seeking refuge from the terror and hardships they have known. Morningstar did not see the sights along the way to Vienna. She was sorry she missed that because a little girl loved to travel and discover new places. After a while, Morningstar did come to complete consciousness and tried to peek out of the fogged-up car window. All she could see were frozen fields with a light dusting of snow on them. Our little girl fell asleep again. Morningstar was awakened by the sounds of cars, lots of cars. This she was not used to, living in a village in Hungary. There were bells jingling from trolley cars. The first time a little girl had ever seen one of those. The trolley cars were connected to something above the top of them. Morningstar asked what that was, and she was told that they run on electricity. Our little girl was amazed by all these new sights. The streets were wide and filled with people, well dressed in warm clothing, smiles everywhere, and greetings to each other. Morningstar was looking out to see if they have reached a hospital yet. It seems like a long time since the family left the refugee camp. The small convoy of cars pulled up to a hotel. Wow, Morningstar thought. Even the sick people are kept in hotels in this country. The men from the cars went into the hotels. When they returned, there were smiles on everyone's face. Morningstar did not understand why her having an operation would bring such joviality to the men of the group. Actually, she was rather offended and hurt by this. Morningstar's father and another minister gently and carefully lifted her out of the car, still keeping her wrapped in the blankets. Then Morningstar saw the rest of her family getting out of the cars also. Everyone was there, and all was safe and well. Morningstar was carried into the hotel, and she had her first ride on an elevator. Our little girl got the permission to push the elevator buttons that would take them to their room. Morningstar, the curious little girl that she was, liked this button pushing and riding the elevator. She made a mental note to try it out again after she's well enough to get around on her own. Morningstar had never been in a hotel before. This hotel, one of the best in Vienna, so luxury abounded. Even the doorknobs seemed to be made of gold to our little girl. Actually, they were polished brass, gleaming in the sunshine. Everywhere there were lush carpets, order, and cleanliness. Fluffy white lace curtains, antique furniture, and of course, flowers and flowers in the middle of winter. They could be seen. Morningstar was carried into the hotel room and laid on a bed. The bed was covered with the same matching material as the curtains used to darken the room and the furniture pillows. Everything matching to perfection. The room had two large beds and a canopy. and a small desk with a chair. It also had its own private bathroom. Morningstar's baby sister was laid on the other large bed, and she fell asleep instantly. The older brother of Morningstar sat on a canopy and was still unusually silent. Morningstar's father explained to the little girl that a doctor would soon arrive to check upon her condition. This doctor will make the final decision as to what should be the treatment. Our little girl was told that no one will cause her any more pain, so she should not be afraid. Again, Morningstar was faced with a German doctor and nurse, but this one was older and a jovial sort of fellow. The nurse smiled at the little girl and held her hand as she was being examined. The doctor, who resembled Santa Claus, told the family of Morningstar that an operation is needed, but a small incision will do. Furthermore, the doctor said, this can be done right here in the hotel room. Then the doctor told Morningstar's father to translate what he said to our little girl. He said that a shot will be given and Morningstar will feel no pain as the boil is opened, cleansed, and proper sterile dressing is applied. First of all, Morningstar was taken into the bathroom to take a shower, wash her hair, and clean clothes were brought for her. Morningstar had never seen such a wonderful bathroom before. She stood there in amazement. Even soap and shampoo were supplied, together with warmed towels, bathrobes for the whole family, and slippers. I'm going to like this, Morningstar thought to herself. For Morningstar, a stool was placed under the shower so she could halfway sit down or grasp if she feels faint. Our little girl just sat under the warm tirade of water pouring down on her. She closed her eyes as her hair was washed and daydreamed about her lake. The soap and shampoo were stinging the wound on Morning's behind, and as usual, she fled in her mind to her lake for comfort and refuge. After her shower, Morningstar went back into the bedroom. A sterile green sheet was placed on the bed and gauze padding on top of that. Morningstar was told to lie on her tummy and count to 10. She was given some sort of funny smelling gas through a mask on her face. And the last thing our little girl remembered was another shot being stuck in her. But this time it was near the wound that she had. Morningstar awoke to the sound of the doctor calling her name. Elizabeth, Elizabeth. When she opened her eyes, the doctor told her, through the translation her father conveyed, that it is all over. The wound is cleaned and dressed properly. Morningstar was given a bottle of penicillin by the doctor, and her parents were warned not to touch the wound. Our little girl had to finish every last pill and needed to be awakened during the night also. 1 pill every 4 hours was the order. After all the pain Morningstar had suffered, she could not believe that it's all over and nobody was going to hurt her anymore. The rest of the family took their turns in the shower also, and now a few faint smiles sometimes showed on the parents' face. The baby sister of Morningstar was placed in a bathtub, and she was having a grand time splashing the water around. Lunch was brought into the room by room service. So much food, Morningstar thought to herself. There was lots of hot chicken soup, veal cutlets, potatoes, steamed vegetables, and apple strudel. A fruit basket was brought in for the family also. A very strange looking object was in it. It was yellow and long. Morningstar asked what that was. Her father told her it was a fruit named a banana. The father showed the family how to peel it and then divided the fruit among all the members of the family. It tasted sweet and luscious in Morningstar's mouth. There were oranges, not just one orange, like they had in Hungary for Christmas, but lots of oranges and grapes and apples. After everyone had eaten their fill, the whole family lay down for a much needed rest. The room service boy left the fruit basket for the family and removed the rest of the leftovers. Order and cleanliness was the word of the day, as we can't have dirty dishes around. He also told Morningstar's father that anything the family needs or wants, just ring the bell for room service. Morningstar noted this also for later use in her impish little mind. Towards the evening, the doctor returned to check on Morningstar's condition. By this time, the fever had subsided, and our little girl was not in as much pain anymore. Morningstar's parents and the doctor had a long talk, of which she understood nothing, of course. The only way Morningstar knew they were talking about her was because the doctor kept on looking at the little girl and giving reassuring smile. Typical Santa Claus, Morningstar thought to herself. After the doctor left, Morningstar's father sat down with the whole family and explained to them what will happen next. It was decided between the doctor and Morningstar's parents that our little girl needed further medical attention until her wound healed. They were not being sent back to a refugee camp, for that the parents were thankful. They were not being sent to a refugee camp. The family would be taken to a sanitarium in a town called Purkesdorf that was not far from Vienna. There, the family would stay until Morningstar is totally well. During their stay there, the parents of Morningstar must decide where they wish to go, whether to go to the United States or Canada. The first choice would have been Switzerland for Morningstar's father. He was thinking along the lines that when things quieted down in Hungary, the family may return to their home. It was only 3 days that they were gone. Even the short period of time seemed like an eternity to Morningstar. Of course, the children had no say in the decision being made. They were only informed of what was to happen. The night passed peacefully. Morningstar had to be awakened every 4 hours for her medication. Everyone had finally a good night's sleep. In the morning, again a lavish breakfast was brought in, and Morningstar ate all that was served to her. She was feeling much better and started to slowly walk around the room, holding on to the furniture for reassurance in case her steps faltered. The doctor arrived after breakfast and was pleased with our little girl's progress. The fever was gone and the wound was draining well. No need for further surgery. The doctor told the family of Morningstar to be prepared to leave the hotel in an hour's time. An ambulance was called to take our little girl to Porkersdorf. As the ambulance arrived, the family rode the elevator down to leave the hotel. This time, Morningstar pushed the buttons again, but she was finally standing on her own 2 feet and did not need to be carried. A big improvement over that little sick frozen bundle that was brought into the hotel just the day before. Morningstar liked the elevator ride so much that she was allowed to ride up and down the elevator once again. The baby sister of our little girl and Morningstar were giggling with delight at this new game. Morningstar was laid on a stretcher in the ambulance. She was told it was a doctor's orders, and she must not overdo things or she will get ill again. There were extra pillows in the ambulance, and the attendant propped up Morningstar as much as was possible so she can see out the window. The rest of the family climbed in the ambulance also, and again Morningstar was on her way to a new place. Morningstar could not see much out from the tinted window of the ambulance, and soon she dozed off. Her baby sister was sleeping also. It did not seem like a long time when the ambulance stopped, and Morningstar was awakened. When she was brought out from the ambulance, a most wonderful sight welcomed our little girl. There were trees everywhere and a big, beautiful building, a huge park, and even some children happily running around and playing in it. Everything was neat, clean, and orderly. Some nurses could be seen supervising the children, their faces rosy red from the cool, fresh air and the running around they were doing. The family was escorted into reception area of the sanitarium. Morningstar, still lying on a stretcher, was seen by the doctors first. It was explained to Morningstar by a nurse who spoke Hungarian that all new patients, as well as the refugees, has to undergo strict medical screening to prevent any outbreaks of infectious diseases. This was the first time Morningstar heard that other refugees were also at the sanitarium. Morningstar's wound was cleaned and a new dressing put on. Then she was taken for chest x-ray and blood and urine test. This the whole family was subjected to also. Until the results of the test came back, Morningstar and her family were placed in an isolation room. It was a lovely room overlooking the park. The afternoon sun lit up every corner of the room. Cheerful curtains, matching bed covers, and, of course, flowers made the room feel cozy and friendly. Lunch was brought to the room, and the food was just as plentiful and delicious as it was in the hotel. Basket full of fresh fruit was also brought in, and the parents were told to make sure the children eat plenty and often. Special meal was brought in for the baby sister of Morningstar. The main meals in Europe are always served at noon, and Austria was no different in that aspect. For Morningstar's family, it seemed like Christmas every day. Coming from a country where even for a loaf of bread, you had to stand in line for hours, and sometimes even then, by the time it was your turn, the bread was gone. Oranges, apples, and bananas were given fresh every day. Hot chocolate was given to the children at every meal, and the parents had real coffee with cream, not the coffee substitute that was used in Hungary. Morningstar's father was not allowed to smoke on the grounds of the sanitarium, But this was a small price to pay for all the good that was given to this family. The family was grateful for everything that was done to help them. The parents realized that that moment they are dependent on the help and mercy of others. Not a very comforting thought for Morningstar's father, who had always taken care of himself and his family. There was no place for pride in the situation the small family found themselves in. One sick little girl, a baby, and another child had to be taken care of. The family spent 3 days in isolation. Aside from Morningstar's wound that was still draining, everyone was found to be healthy. The family were moved into a regular large room. The whole family stayed in this room because the influx of refugees from Hungary was so large that every available space was taken. Of course, the sanitarium had to keep a wing open for the regular patients. The new room was spacious and lit by the afternoon sun also. The large windows overlooked the impeccably kept park, and a small forest could be seen at the back of the park. Food was still brought into the family, just as if they were one of the patients residing there. Morningstar was given a daily ritual to follow to make sure she gets well. In the morning, after breakfast, Morningstar had to go to the end of the hall and there sit into one of the large bathtubs. Into the water, some blue-colored medicine was added. All this was needed to make sure all of the poisons would break out of Morningstar's wound. It was also noted that the little girl's feet and hands were frostbitten as usual during winter. Warmer gloves were issued to Morningstar, and a light exercise program was planned out to improve her circulation. After lunch, there was a 2-hour quiet time. The children were expected to nap. The adults were allowed to walk on the grounds or read or rest as they wished. In the evening, the same bathing ritual was repeated, each time for 45 minutes. Now, sometimes this caused a bit of complaining among the other refugees as to why Morningstar is getting special treatment, and then a child spends too much time in the bathroom making others wait in line. The head doctor came to the group and explained that the time spent in the bath was ordered by him, and he is the boss. This seemed to quiet down the angry would-be bathers. With the excellent care and good food, Morningstar's health improved rapidly. She was not strong enough to take walks in the park and even go on bus rides to Vienna. Morningstar's father always bought one banana to share among the family members along the way to Vienna. They usually stopped by at the gas station across from the sanitarium, where Morningstar's father would buy one banana and one orange, and sometimes even a candy bar to share. Morningstar loved these outings to Vienna. Vienna was breathtakingly beautiful. She could not get filled with all the sights to see. The tall buildings with magnificent designs on them, the Danube with larger boats and ships on it, the people, the cars, and she loved to ride the trolley cars with the jingling bells. Everything was already decorated for Christmas. Up until this time, Morningstar had not seen a city all decorated for the holidays. She was amazed. All over the place, pretty colored lights, store windows filled with every wonder imaginable to our little girl. She knew they had no money, So, of course, our little girl asked for nothing. Just being able to see this entire splendor made our little girl happy. The scent of roasted chestnuts being sold on the street corners, mixed with pine, orange, chocolate, coffee, and marzipan, filled the air. Light snow fell here and there, gave the whole scene a mysterious fairy tale look. The windows were filled with the scenes of the Nativity and Santa Claus's villages with elves and snow and reindeers. Our little girl had never seen such a sight. The figures even moved to music that Morningstar could not figure out where it originated from. There were people ice skating on a pond in old-fashioned dresses. For a moment, Morningstar's heart felt the pain of homesickness again. She remembered that soon her lake would be frozen also, and winter fun could begin on it, but she won't be there. Morningstar tried hard to force these thoughts to the back of her mind and remember that she's right across the border from Hungary, only a few hours from her beloved lake. Our little girl was certain that she would return to her home, even if it takes her the rest of her life, but she will return. End of chapter 19.